Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode. I'm Adam, and alongside me today is the brilliant Sophia. We're diving deep into a topic that's been on everyone's minds, especially as we kick off the new year. We've all been there, excited to set big goals and create resolutions, only to see that motivation fade faster than we can say January 1st. So, why does New Year's motivation fail so often? And more importantly, what's the real reason behind it? Today, we're here to pull back the curtain and talk about why the New Year, New Me hype doesn't always work, and how we can make lasting changes that actually stick. Stay tuned, because we'll be breaking it down for you.
Absolutely, Adam. It's a topic we all know too well. Every January, we see the same wave of New Year, New Me posts, filled with excitement and optimism. But by February, most of those resolutions are already forgotten. So what's really going on here? Why do people struggle to stay motivated? And what can we do to set ourselves up for real success this year? Stick with us as we explore the hidden truth behind quick fixes, the psychology of motivation, and the key strategies to make your goals actually last. If you're ready to break the cycle of empty resolutions, you're in the right place.
Let's get into it. Grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's figure out why motivation doesn't last and how we can make it work for us in 2025 and beyond. All right, let's dive right into it. Here's the burning question. Why does our motivation to achieve New Year goals fade so quickly? It's like every year we're full of ambition, we're setting resolutions, and then by the end of January, we're already starting to slip back into old habits. So, what's going on here? Well, let's break it down. The root of the problem starts in our brain, specifically with a little thing called dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, and it's responsible for those feelings of excitement, pleasure, and reward. Whenever we set a new goal or imagine a big achievement, our brain gets a rush of dopamine. It feels great, right? It's like that first day at the gym when you're all pumped up after setting your New Year's resolution. But here's the catch. That feeling doesn't last. And what happens next? The motivation starts to fade, sometimes even before we get halfway through the month.
Exactly, Adam. It's the classic dopamine cycle. So let's break it down. When we think about a new goal, whether it's getting fit, learning a new skill, or starting a business, our brain releases a burst of dopamine. This is our brain's way of giving us a reward for planning something we expect will be rewarding. But as we start working toward that goal, we don't get the same burst of dopamine every day. Dopamine is actually released in small bursts when we make progress, but real change requires sustained effort, which takes longer to materialize. And that's where motivation gets tricky. The initial high starts to fade once the newness of the goal wears off and the work begins. And guess what? Motivation begins to drop. Suddenly we're left without the energy to push forward.
Exactly. And that's the thing most people don't realize. Motivation isn't a constant. It's like a sugar rush. It's great at first, but it doesn't last long. So, as soon as that excitement begins to wear off, many people start to feel discouraged. They wonder, what happened to my motivation? Why am I not excited anymore? And that's because motivation isn't just about a feeling. It's about setting up your life in a way that makes consistent progress possible, regardless of how motivated you feel on any given day. And it's easy to see how this becomes a problem. You're all hyped up about a new resolution, and after a few weeks, the grind feels much harder without that initial excitement, right?
Right, Adam. And when people rely on motivation alone to achieve their goals, they're setting themselves up for failure. You can't just will yourself into success every day. Motivation is episodic. It comes and goes. That's why when people say things like, "I'll work hard starting next week," or "I'll get back on track once I'm motivated," they're really just setting themselves up for more disappointment, because motivation is not the key to long-term success. Instead, what we need is a system. We need a strategy that's bigger than just those bursts of excitement. A plan that doesn't rely on motivation to fuel it. And that's something that's often missing when people start working on their goals.
Exactly. And think about this. We often don't see motivation as just a short burst. Instead, we're sold this idea that motivation should carry us from start to finish. But in reality, it's like using a match to start a fire. It might burn for a moment, but it doesn't last unless you build a proper fire. So, when motivation fades, people often give up on their goals and think it's their fault. But the reality is, it's not about just feeling motivated. It's about building systems that carry you through when that motivation dips. I mean, let's take a simple example: fitness. When someone starts going to the gym in January, it's not about how motivated they are the first day. It's about the fact that if they build a routine, even when they're not feeling it, they're still going to show up, and that's how real results happen.
That's such an important point, Adam. Motivation can spark the journey, but it's the habits and systems that keep it going. Think about habits like brushing your teeth or drinking water. They're not motivated acts, they're just part of your daily routine. And that's how we need to treat our goals. We need to make them part of our daily routine, and that takes consistency, effort, and planning. If we build non-negotiable systems, whether it's working out every morning, reading a chapter of a book, or saving a certain amount of money every week, motivation doesn't need to be a factor, because the system is already in place to carry you through those days when you're not feeling motivated. If we don't have that structure, though, it's easy to slip back into the habits that we're trying to change.
Right. And this is exactly why most New Year's resolutions fail. People rely on motivation, they think that excitement alone will carry them through, but the minute that motivation fades, they have nothing to hold on to. So, here's the real truth. Motivation is just the beginning, but systems, habits, and consistency are the real engines of success. But how do we actually build these systems? How do we make sure we're prepared when motivation starts to fade? Well, that's where the next part of this conversation comes in. We're going to talk about how to create systems that are self-sustaining, systems that work without you having to be constantly motivated. Because once we figure out how to do that, we'll never have to rely on motivation again.
Exactly. And to really drive this point home, let's think about the things that truly stick in our lives. When we were kids, we didn't have to think about brushing our teeth every day. It became a habit, right? It's something we did without fail. And that's the secret to success, turning your goals into habits that are so ingrained in your routine that motivation becomes irrelevant. The consistency becomes the key. And that's where we're going next. How do you build that kind of consistency in a world that constantly pulls your attention in 1,000 directions?
All right. Now that we've broken down the science of motivation, let's talk about something that's closely tied to that initial excitement: quick fixes. Every January, people flock to self-help books, new fitness programs, miracle diets, and productivity hacks that promise results with minimal effort. The problem is, these quick fixes often give us a false sense of hope. They make us believe that change can be instant, but the truth is, true and lasting change requires time, effort, and, most importantly, consistency. Quick fixes might give us a burst of motivation, but they rarely lead to lasting transformation.
Exactly, Adam. We've all fallen for it at some point, those ads promising that you can lose 20 pounds in a month with minimal effort, or that you can achieve success overnight by following a secret formula. But here's the harsh reality. Most of these quick fixes are unsustainable. They focus on short-term rewards, but they don't teach us the skills, habits, or mindset needed to make lasting changes. Think about it. When you follow a quick fix diet, you might lose some weight quickly, but what happens when you stop the diet? The weight often comes back because you haven't created sustainable habits around food and exercise.
That's a great point, Sophia. And this goes beyond just fitness or health trends. It applies to almost every area of life. Whether it's a get-rich-quick scheme, a 30-day productivity challenge, or a so-called instant success hack, they all promise big results with little effort. The problem is, this creates a cycle of false expectations. We start to believe that success should come fast, that if we're not seeing quick results, we're doing something wrong. And that's dangerous because it encourages people to give up too soon. When they don't see the instant results they were promised, they think they've failed, even though they've only just begun.
Exactly. Quick fixes can actually be harmful in the long run. Not only do they set us up with unrealistic expectations, but they also prevent us from learning the deeper, more fundamental skills that we need for real success. For example, with fitness programs, instead of focusing on the core principles of nutrition, exercise, and recovery, many quick fix programs promote extreme methods that aren't sustainable. People may lose weight quickly, but once they return to their old habits, the weight often comes right back. And the same goes for things like wealth building. Instead of learning how to build wealth through disciplined saving, investing, and managing risk, people get sucked into schemes that promise fast riches which often end in disappointment.
And this is where the problem really starts to take shape. When we rely on these quick fixes, we're essentially looking for a shortcut. A shortcut to success, health, wealth, or happiness. But here's the thing. There are no shortcuts. The real work is in the daily grind, in creating habits, in setting long-term goals, and being committed to the process. And while that may not sound as exciting as some 30-day transformation program, it's the only way to build something that lasts. Quick fixes only work for a very short time, and when they fail, which they often do, they can make us feel like we're back to square one, even though we've put in the work.
Exactly, Adam. It's a mindset shift. We need to move away from the idea that change can happen overnight and start focusing on long-term strategies. The kind of strategies that are actually sustainable and set us up for success over time. And this isn't just about fitness or wealth, it's about life in general. Whether you're trying to improve your career, your relationships, or your personal development, the foundation of success is built on consistent effort, learning, and growth. No quick fix can replace that. What's even worse is that quick fixes can damage our confidence when we fail, because we were set up with the expectation that it should have been easy, which makes us want to give up sooner.
So, the key takeaway here is to focus on building systems instead of looking for quick fixes. Whether you want to get fit, become more productive, or achieve financial success, it's about creating habits that you can stick to in the long run. Systems that work, not because of a momentary burst of motivation, but because they're part of your lifestyle, your daily routine. It's not about doing everything in 30 days or 90 days. It's about doing things every single day that move you closer to your goals, step by step. The more we focus on the process, the less we'll be distracted by promises of quick, easy success.
Absolutely, Adam. And it's not to say that there's no place for motivation or quick wins. Every now and then, we all need that little spark to get us going. But motivation and quick wins should be the byproducts of consistent work, not the main event. When we build real lasting change, we focus on the process, the steps that add up to significant progress over time. And that's the type of change that lasts. So, the next time you see a shiny ad for a quick fix, remember that the real magic happens when you commit to the long-term grind and trust the process. That's when real success happens.
Exactly, Sophia. And remember, there's no shortcut to success. Quick fixes might give you a temporary boost, but they won't sustain you. Focus on the long haul, build systems, and be consistent with the process. That's how we create lasting, meaningful change. Now that we've discussed why quick fixes don't work and the importance of long-term commitment, let's dive into something that's actually a game changer in achieving lasting success: small wins. You know, we often think that in order to succeed, we need to make huge leaps or achieve massive accomplishments. But the truth is, small wins are what drive us forward. They're the building blocks of big achievements. When we focus on small, manageable goals, we not only make progress, but we also start to build momentum. And that momentum is what keeps us going, especially when motivation starts to fade.
Exactly, Adam. The idea of small wins is so powerful because it works on both a psychological and practical level. Psychologically, small wins provide us with a sense of accomplishment. They give us that positive reinforcement that encourages us to keep going. If you think about it, success is rarely about one big breakthrough. It's about the little things you do every day that add up over time. Those small, consistent actions create a feeling of progress, and when we feel like we're progressing, we're more likely to stay committed. It's like building a snowball, small at first, but as it rolls down the hill, it picks up more and more speed.
That's such a great analogy, Sophia. And what's even more interesting is that small wins help to shift our mindset. They take the pressure off of having to achieve everything all at once, and instead, they allow us to focus on the next small step. This approach helps to reduce feelings of overwhelm, which is something that can really stop people from taking action. When we break down a big goal into smaller tasks, we don't feel as intimidated. The key is not to focus on how far we have to go, but to focus on the small wins we can celebrate along the way.
Right. And that's exactly why small wins are so effective. They build self-confidence. Each time we achieve a small goal, we reinforce the belief that we are capable of achieving more. For example, let's say your goal is to get fit. Instead of focusing on how far away you are from your ideal body or how difficult it is to stick to a workout routine, you focus on completing a 10-minute workout or eating one healthy meal that day. These small steps, although seemingly insignificant, reinforce that you're on the right path. Over time, these small wins add up to bigger progress. And the best part? The more we experience these small wins, the more confident we become in our ability to reach even bigger goals.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the impact small wins have on our motivation. It's often said that action breeds motivation, and this is so true. When we take small actions and see progress, we feel motivated to keep going. But when we don't take action, or we focus on the big, intimidating picture, we can easily lose our drive. It's like running a marathon. If you only focus on the 26 miles ahead, you'll feel exhausted and defeated before you even start. But if you break it down into smaller segments, focusing on 1 mile at a time, each completed mile gives you a boost of confidence and energy to tackle the next one.
Exactly, Adam. And here's another important aspect of small wins. They teach us the value of consistency. It's not about how fast you can achieve something. It's about showing up every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. You don't need to take huge leaps every single day. A few small actions consistently performed over time will move the needle much more than occasional bursts of intense effort. It's those small, consistent actions that build the habits and routines that lead to real success. And that consistency pays off.
And I think that's where people get discouraged. They expect immediate, large-scale results, and when those don't come, they feel like they're failing. But the key is to trust the process. Small wins don't always seem impressive on their own, but over time, they compound, and the impact becomes undeniable. If you set out to write a book, writing just 200 words a day doesn't sound like much. But 200 words every day for a year is 73,000 words, a finished manuscript. The point is, the small wins add up.
Exactly. And let's be real, small wins are realistic. They fit into our lives no matter how busy we are. Big goals can sometimes feel out of reach, but small wins are something we can all accomplish, even on our busiest days. It could be as simple as making your bed in the morning or spending 5 minutes meditating. It might seem trivial, but these small actions make a big difference in how we view ourselves and our progress.
So, if you're listening right now, I want you to think about one goal you've been putting off. Instead of focusing on the end result, what's one small win you can accomplish today that will move you in the right direction? Maybe it's writing down a goal or setting a tiny action step you can take tomorrow. Remember, these small wins are what keep you motivated and on track.
And don't underestimate the power of these little victories. Over time, these small wins will become your new reality. They'll help you stay committed to your goals, and before you know it, You'll have achieved things you once thought were impossible. Small wins create momentum, and momentum is the fuel for lasting success.
All right, let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that most of us avoid: failure. It's uncomfortable, it's discouraging, and let's be honest, no one likes to talk about it. But here's the thing: failure is inevitable if you're pushing yourself toward anything meaningful. The real question is, how do we respond to failure? Too often, we let it define us or hold us back, but in reality, failure is a powerful tool. It's an opportunity to learn, grow, and reflect. When we embrace failure as part of the process, we open ourselves up to growth.
Exactly, Adam. It's easy to get stuck in the mindset that failure is the end of the road. When we fail, we might feel embarrassed, frustrated, or even defeated. But failure doesn't mean you're done. It just means you've found one way that doesn't work. What's crucial is reflection. Reflection is what allows us to look back, analyze what went wrong, and use that knowledge to course correct. It's that ability to learn from our mistakes that separates those who succeed from those who give up. And when you start to see failure as a lesson, it completely changes your perspective.
Right. And let's be clear here. Failure is not something that should make us feel ashamed or afraid. Failure is a sign that you're trying. It means you're stepping outside your comfort zone, taking risks, and working towards something bigger. The problem is that many people don't take the time to reflect on their failures. They just brush it off, or worse, they ignore it and move on without learning from it. That's a missed opportunity. When you reflect on a failure, you're able to identify what went wrong and what you can do differently next time. It's all part of the process of growth.
And this idea of reflection is not just about looking at the negative aspects, it's about understanding the whole picture. For example, if you didn't get that promotion you were hoping for, instead of just feeling discouraged, take a step back and ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? Did you miss certain skills? Was your preparation lacking? Did you communicate effectively? Reflection is a process of self-assessment that doesn't focus solely on what went wrong, but also on what went right and what can be improved.
Exactly. And reflection doesn't always have to be a solitary activity. You can also gain insights from others. For instance, seeking feedback from colleagues, mentors, or even friends can give you a different perspective. They might notice things you didn't, or suggest ways you can improve. The key is to stay open to feedback, even when it's hard to hear. The most successful people are those who embrace feedback and use it to fuel their growth.
And, let's not forget, failure isn't final. It's a temporary setback. So many of the most successful people have had to face failures along the way. Take J.K. Rowling, for example. Her first Harry Potter manuscript was rejected by multiple publishers. But she didn't let that failure stop her. Instead, she used it to improve her work. Or look at Steve Jobs. He was fired from Apple, the very company he founded. Yet, he didn't quit. He used his failures as stepping stones to bigger and better things. These stories remind us that failure is often a detour, not a dead end.
Absolutely, Sophia. And that's why reflection is so crucial. It helps us reframe failure, not as something that defines us, but as something that redirects us. When we reflect, we gain clarity about what we could have done differently and how we can improve. But it's important to be honest with ourselves during this process. Sometimes we need to face the uncomfortable truth that we didn't give our best effort, or that we might have made avoidable mistakes. But even those truths are valuable lessons.
That's so true. The power of reflection also lies in how it allows us to pivot. Sometimes, a failure can show us that the path we're on isn't the right one, and we need to try a new direction. Other times, it's about realizing we need to keep going, but with a little more preparation or a shift in strategy. What reflection helps us do is identify the actionable steps we can take to prevent the same failure from happening again. And this, I think, is the key to turning failure into something empowering.
And let's also acknowledge that it's okay to feel disappointed after a failure. It's okay to process those emotions. The important thing is not to stay stuck in them. Don't let the disappointment linger longer than necessary. Use it as fuel to get back up and try again. Because the longer you stay in that negative space, the harder it is to move forward. Reflection isn't about dwelling on the past. It's about learning and then moving forward with a new strategy, new insight, and renewed motivation.
Exactly. And this brings us to the point where we start turning failure into resilience. The more you fail and reflect, the stronger your ability to bounce back becomes. You start to develop a mindset where you see failure as a stepping stone to success, not a barrier. This is a crucial part of personal growth, learning to view challenges as opportunities to grow rather than setbacks to avoid.
So, as we wrap up this segment, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge. Think about your most recent failure, whether it's personal or professional. Instead of beating yourself up over it, take a moment to reflect. What did you learn from it? What would you do differently? And most importantly, how can you use that lesson to keep moving forward? Remember, failure is just a part of the journey, not the end of it.
Great challenge, Adam. And remember, it's not about avoiding failure. It's about learning from it and using it to propel you to greater success. So, embrace your failures, reflect on them, and let them guide you toward your goals.
All right, so let's dive into something that's often overlooked when we talk about success: systems. Most people approach their New Year's resolutions or goals with excitement, but after a couple of weeks, they start to fall off track. The main reason? They focus too much on the end goal and not enough on the systems that will get them there. In fact, if we're being honest, it's often the systems, the daily habits, routines, and strategies that determine whether or not you'll actually achieve your goals.
Exactly. We've all heard that goals are important, and they are, but focusing only on goals is like saying you want to build a house but neglecting to gather the materials or lay the foundation. Goals give you direction, but systems are what actually drive the progress. It's your systems that turn those lofty ambitions into something tangible. Take a look at any high achiever, whether it's an athlete, entrepreneur, or artist. They all have one thing in common: consistent systems that they follow every day.
Right. And here's the thing about systems. They're not flashy, they're not sexy, and they often don't get the credit they deserve. But they're the backbone of any success story. It's the simple, everyday actions that accumulate over time. Let's think about fitness. You could set a goal to lose 20 pounds by the end of the year, but if you don't have a system in place, like exercising consistently, eating the right foods, getting enough sleep, you're not going to get there. It's the system that makes the goal achievable.
That's why it's important to shift your focus from the end goal to the process itself. For example, rather than saying, "I want to write a book this year," focus on setting up a system to write consistently. Maybe that's writing 500 words every day or dedicating an hour each morning to your writing practice. By doing this, you're not just working toward a goal, you're creating a routine that leads to long-term success. The system becomes the daily commitment that propels you toward your goal, whether that's losing weight, writing a book, or building a business.
Exactly. And the beauty of systems is that they don't depend on motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes. But when you have a system, even on the days when you're not feeling your best, you still follow through. Systems build momentum. For example, let's say you want to get better at learning a new language. Instead of saying, "I'll learn Spanish this year," set up a system where you practice for 30 minutes every morning. Over time, that consistent effort pays off far more than relying on bursts of motivation.
And let's not forget that systems also help you track your progress. When you rely on systems, you get a much clearer picture of where you are and where you need to improve. It's like setting up a feedback loop. If you're working toward a fitness goal and you're using a system of regular exercise and healthy eating, you'll notice small improvements over time. These improvements keep you motivated and help you make adjustments to your system if needed. Systems aren't static. They evolve based on feedback.
Absolutely. And when you rely on systems, you also make the process less overwhelming. Instead of thinking about a huge, daunting goal like, I need to get fit this year, it becomes about showing up every day, doing the work, and trusting the system. It takes the pressure off. The goal isn't to hit the target immediately, it's to stay consistent. That's the key to real success. Whether it's a business, personal growth, or even relationships, systems are what keep you on track.
That's so true. Systems also help us manage setbacks. Life isn't always smooth, and there will be times when you fall off track. But when you have a system in place, you don't need to start over completely. You can simply get back into the routine. For instance, if you miss a workout, you don't give up on your fitness goal entirely. You just get back to the system the next day. The system is there to guide you through the ups and downs rather than leaving you stranded after a setback.
So, to sum it up, goals are great. They give you direction. But systems are what make those goals achievable. Systems take you out of the realm of wishful thinking and into the realm of action. It's about building sustainable habits that get you closer to your goal every day, even when motivation is low or life throws challenges your way. That's how you make lasting change.
And let's challenge our listeners for a moment. Think about a goal you've set for yourself, whether it's personal or professional. What's your system for achieving that goal? What daily habits or routines can you put in place that will bring you closer to your objective? Focus on the process rather than the outcome, and you'll find yourself achieving far more than you ever thought possible.
Exactly. So, take some time today to not just think about your goal, but to design your system. And remember, systems are about consistency. It's the small actions you take every day that build up over time. Those small wins stack up, and before you know it, you're looking back at a year of incredible progress.
All right, we've talked a lot about systems so far, but one thing that really makes systems work is habits. The truth is, no system can function without the habits that drive it. We all know that habits are hard to form, especially when you're trying to change something in your life. But here's the thing, sustainable habits are the secret sauce to long-term success. When your habits align with your systems, everything falls into place.
Exactly. And when we talk about sustainable habits, we're not talking about the kind of habits you try to force yourself into for a few days and then give up. We're talking about habits that stick, the kind that becomes second nature. When you form a habit that fits your lifestyle, it doesn't feel like a chore. It feels like part of who you are. That's the magic of habits. They make success feel effortless. That's a great point, Sophia. Think about it this way. Let's say your goal is to get in shape. The best way to build a fitness habit isn't by pushing yourself to do an hour at the gym every single day. That might be great for the first week, but it's not sustainable. The key is to start small, maybe 20-minute workouts a few times a week. Over time, as you build momentum, you can gradually increase the intensity. But it's the consistency that makes it work in the long term.
Exactly. It's about small wins and stacking them over time. When you start small, it feels manageable, and those little wins build confidence, which keeps you going. If you aim for huge changes right away, you're setting yourself up for failure. But if you take it one step at a time and build gradually, you're building a solid foundation for sustainable success.
And I love how you brought up confidence because that's huge. When you create a sustainable habit, you don't feel like you're fighting against yourself all the time. You've broken the process down into manageable chunks. As you achieve these small goals, you start feeling more empowered. You begin to trust yourself and your ability to keep going, even on tough days.
Absolutely. It's a snowball effect. When your habits are sustainable, you don't have to rely on motivation to get things done. You simply follow the routine. But that doesn't mean the habits are easy to create. It takes consistency. And to make sure those habits stick, there are a couple of strategies that really work.
Right. One strategy is to tie your new habit to an existing one. Let's say you want to start meditating every day. You could tie it to something you already do regularly, like brushing your teeth. After brushing your teeth in the morning, you immediately sit down to meditate for 5 minutes. Over time, that action will become linked in your mind, and meditation will become just as automatic as brushing your teeth.
That's such a great tip, Adam. Another strategy that works really well is the concept of habit stacking. This is when you attach a new habit to an already established behavior. For example, if you want to start reading more books, you can commit to reading one chapter after you drink your morning coffee. The key is to make the new habit so small and easy that it becomes a no-brainer. Over time, you'll naturally start building it into your routine without even thinking about it.
Exactly. And speaking of small habits, another effective approach is the 2-minute rule. This is the idea that if a task takes less than 2 minutes, you do it right away. If you want to start exercising, don't aim to work out for 30 minutes on your first day. Just start with 2 minutes. Once you start doing those 2 minutes, you'll feel motivated to keep going. And eventually, those 2 minutes will turn into longer workouts, and the habit will stick.
Yeah, and it's also important to focus on tracking your progress. The key here is to celebrate the small wins. If your goal is to read more, track the number of pages or minutes you've spent reading. When you see your progress, you get that sense of accomplishment that keeps you motivated. It's not about achieving perfection, it's about showing up and doing the work consistently.
Tracking your progress can really boost motivation because it gives you visual feedback. You can see how far you've come, and that's incredibly empowering. And don't forget that accountability can help too. Whether it's a friend, a family member, or even an app, having someone or something to check in with helps keep you on track.
Exactly. Accountability partners or apps that track your habits can really make a difference. You don't have to do it alone. But remember, the most important thing is to start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire life all at once. Focus on one habit at a time, and once that becomes ingrained, add another. Over time, these small habits compound and create massive results.
Right. It's about the power of consistency. Sustainable habits are built slowly and intentionally. It's not about quick fixes. It's about making small, consistent changes that are easy to maintain. And when you focus on building habits that are in line with your goals, you're setting yourself up for long-term success.
Exactly. And remember, building habits is not an overnight process. You'll face challenges and setbacks, but as long as you stay consistent, you'll see progress. So, as we wrap up this segment, I challenge you to think about one habit you can start building today. Keep it small, keep it simple, and most importantly, stick with it.
Now that we've talked about systems and habits, let's dive into something that truly shapes everything we do: mindset. If you want long-term success, the foundation has to be your mindset. Your beliefs, thoughts, and attitudes about yourself and the world around you will either propel you forward or hold you back. So, let's explore why mindset is the key to unlocking success and how we can cultivate a mindset that will support our goals for the long haul.
Absolutely, Adam. And I think the most powerful thing about mindset is that it influences every decision we make. It's like wearing a pair of glasses. Your mindset is the lens through which you see the world. If your mindset is fixed and limited, then you'll see challenges as obstacles, failures as personal shortcomings, and you'll always be stuck. But when you develop a growth mindset, you see opportunities in challenges and failures as lessons rather than setbacks.
That's right. A growth mindset is essential. The concept comes from psychologist Carol Dweck's research, and it's a game changer. People with a growth mindset believe that they can improve through effort, learning, and persistence. They see their abilities as something that can grow with hard work, which is completely different from the fixed mindset, where people believe that their abilities are static and unchangeable. With a growth mindset, failure isn't a stop sign. It's a stepping stone toward success.
Exactly. And the beauty of a growth mindset is that it makes us resilient. We all face obstacles, whether it's in our personal lives or in our careers. But with the right mindset, we can bounce back. It's about embracing the journey and learning from every experience, not just the wins. Because let's face it, success is rarely a straight line. It's messy, it's full of detours, But with a growth mindset, we can adapt, adjust, and keep moving forward.
And resilience is crucial. Think about any successful person, whether they're an entrepreneur, athlete, or artist. They didn't just get there by having talent alone. They got there because they were able to persist through adversity. It's not about avoiding failure, but about knowing that every failure teaches you something valuable. Every setback is simply a lesson that pushes you closer to your goal, as long as you're willing to learn from it.
Absolutely. And you know, one of the biggest mindsets I've noticed that really hinders progress is the fear of failure. People are so afraid to make mistakes that they won't even take the first step. But the truth is, failure is part of the process. If you're not failing, you're probably not trying hard enough. It's all about viewing failure as a tool for growth rather than something to avoid.
Yes, exactly. And speaking of that, we should also talk about self-belief. A strong mindset also involves believing in your own ability to succeed. If you don't believe in yourself, then it's going to be incredibly hard to push forward, especially when things get tough. Self-doubt can creep in, but here's the thing. Confidence isn't something that just happens overnight. It's built little by little through consistent action and reflecting on your wins, no matter how small.
Right. And that's where self-talk comes in. The way we talk to ourselves plays a massive role in shaping our mindset. If your inner dialogue is full of negativity, doubts, and limiting beliefs, that's exactly what you'll manifest in your life. But when you start changing your self-talk, when you begin to speak to yourself like you would to a friend, encouraging, supportive, and full of belief in your potential, that's when you shift your mindset. Positive self-talk reinforces the idea that you're capable of handling whatever life throws your way.
That's powerful. And I think one of the most important aspects of mindset is the willingness to embrace discomfort. When you have a growth mindset, you're not afraid of stepping outside your comfort zone. In fact, you seek it out. Success doesn't happen when you stay in your bubble. It happens when you push your limits, when you try new things, when you risk failure in the pursuit of growth.
Exactly. And this mindset is not just for big leaps. It's about small, everyday actions too. It's about waking up and saying, I'm going to try my best today. I'm going to give it my all. And even when things don't go perfectly, you remind yourself that it's okay to make mistakes. It's part of the process. Every small win, every little success builds that belief that you are capable of achieving more than you ever thought possible.
And this is where it connects back to building sustainable habits and systems. When your mindset is strong, those habits feel more like a natural part of your life rather than something you have to force. You're focused on progress, not perfection. And you don't get discouraged by setbacks because you know they're simply part of your learning process.
Exactly. And just like with habits, mindset needs practice too. It's not a one-time fix. You have to continuously work on it, especially when things get tough. But the more you work on cultivating a positive, growth-focused mindset, the easier it becomes to face challenges head-on. Over time, it becomes who you are.
And let's not forget that mindset is contagious. When you surround yourself with people who have a positive, growth-oriented mindset, it rubs off on you. It's like creating your own success ecosystem, where everyone's supporting each other and pushing forward together. That's one of the keys to staying motivated, being around people who believe in growth, in progress, and in learning from every experience.
So, as we wrap up this segment, let's encourage our listeners to do a quick mindset check. Ask yourself, are you focusing on growth, or are you holding yourself back with limiting beliefs? Are you viewing challenges as opportunities to grow, or are you avoiding discomfort? Remember, the way you think determines how far you'll go.
That's right. The power of your mindset is often the difference between success and stagnation. So start by cultivating a growth mindset. Embrace failure, push past self-doubt, and always keep learning. Your mindset is the foundation that will support all of your other goals and systems. Make sure it's built on a solid, positive, growth-oriented base. All right, let's talk about something that happens to pretty much everyone at some point during the year: the dreaded mid-year slump. It's that phase where motivation starts to fade, goals seem farther away, and the excitement from New Year's resolutions is a distant memory. If you're feeling like you're stuck or not making progress, you're not alone. The truth is, most people experience this slump around the middle of the year, but the key is learning how to overcome it. We've all been there, right? You start the year with so much energy and drive, but by mid-year, the motivation just doesn't feel the same. So, let's talk about why this happens and how we can push through it.
Exactly, Adam. And I think the first thing we need to acknowledge is that this slump is completely normal. It's actually a natural part of the process. After all, motivation isn't something that stays at full force forever. It fluctuates. The initial excitement of setting goals and starting something new can fade, especially when the reality of hard work and consistency sets in. What happens is that we start to feel like we're not seeing the same quick results that we imagined in January. That's when doubt creeps in, and we start to wonder if we're even capable of achieving our goals. But the truth is, success doesn't happen in a straight line. There are peaks, valleys, and plateaus, and the mid-year slump is just one of those moments where you need to remind yourself that you're on the right path. The key to overcoming it is to shift your perspective and refocus.
Right, Sophia. So one of the biggest reasons we experience the mid-year slump is that we set big goals at the beginning of the year, sometimes too big. We get excited about the possibilities, but when the daily grind sets in, those goals can seem overwhelming. We see them as this huge mountain to climb, and that's when our motivation starts to drop. The first thing you can do is break those big goals into smaller, more manageable chunks. Instead of thinking about the entire year, focus on the next 3 months, or even the next month. Having a more immediate goal to focus on makes the journey feel less daunting, and it's a lot easier to stay motivated when you're constantly achieving smaller victories. Celebrating these small wins will give you the momentum to keep going.
Exactly. And another powerful strategy to combat the slump is to revisit your why. Why did you set these goals in the first place? What's the deeper purpose behind them? We often get lost in the day-to-day tasks and forget the bigger picture. But if you reconnect with the emotional reasons behind your goals, it reignites that spark. Maybe you wanted to get healthier for your family, or you wanted to advance in your career for personal fulfillment. When you remember why you started, it can fuel you to push through those tough moments. So, take some time to reflect and ask yourself, what was my original motivation? And why is it important to me? That can help you realign and get back on track.
Right, Sophia. And another tip that's crucial for overcoming the mid-year slump is to switch things up. Sometimes when we're stuck in a routine, we lose the excitement that came with our initial plans. This is the time to get creative. Maybe it's time to take a different approach to how you work on your goals. If you've been tackling your health goals by going to the gym every day and it's become mundane, try a new workout or a different physical activity. The same goes for your professional goals. If you've been approaching them the same way and not seeing progress, maybe it's time to try a new method or reach out to someone for a fresh perspective. A change of pace or a new challenge can reignite your energy and help you get unstuck.
Absolutely, Adam. And on top of all that, don't be afraid to reassess your goals. The goals you set in January might not be as important to you by the time June rolls around. Life changes, and it's okay to change your goals too. This doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're being flexible and adapting to what's happening around you. Take a step back and ask yourself, are these goals still in alignment with who I am and where I want to go? If not, that's okay. It's better to adjust and stay focused on what truly matters than to stubbornly push towards something that's no longer serving you. Being adaptable and open to change is a key part of long-term success.
Right. And when you reassess your goals, don't forget to acknowledge how far you've come. Progress is progress, no matter how small it seems. It's easy to get caught up in the frustration of not being where you want to be, but the reality is, you've probably made more progress than you realize. Look back and celebrate what you've accomplished so far, and use that as fuel to keep going. The mid-year slump can feel discouraging, but it's just a phase. Remember, the key to success isn't about how quickly you can achieve your goals. It's about the consistency and the effort you put in every day. If you keep showing up, you'll make it.
Exactly. And finally, let's talk about accountability. Sometimes the slump happens because we're going through the motions alone. It's easy to let things slide when no one is checking in on you. But having an accountability partner, a coach, or even a community to support you can make a huge difference. Find someone you trust and share your goals with them. Check in regularly to talk about your progress, challenges, and wins. Having that external motivation and support can help push you through those mid-year lulls. So, whether it's a friend, mentor, or a group of like-minded individuals, don't hesitate to lean on others when you need it.
Exactly. Accountability is a game changer. So, to wrap this up, overcoming the mid-year slump is all about shifting your mindset, breaking down big goals, reconnecting with your why, and being flexible with your approach. The journey to success is never a straight line, and it's normal to face setbacks along the way. But as long as you keep moving forward, you'll come out of this slump stronger and more focused than ever. All right, let's dive into one of the most powerful tools for success: accountability. We've all had moments where we set a goal, got excited about it, and then over time we just fade away. It's easy to let things slide when you're doing everything alone, without someone else checking in on you. But accountability can change that. It's not about having someone micromanage your every move. It's about having a partner or community that helps you stay on track, especially during those challenging times when motivation wanes. It's about making a commitment to someone else, and that external pressure can keep you moving forward.
Exactly, Adam. And when we talk about accountability, it's not just about having someone hold your feet to the fire. It's about building a system of support around you. When you have an accountability partner, you're not just talking about your goals, you're discussing your progress, struggles, and wins. It's like having a coach who's there to cheer you on, remind you why you started, and help you adjust when things aren't going according to plan. You're not in it alone, and knowing that someone else cares about your success can be a huge motivator.
Right. And let's not forget that accountability doesn't always have to come from one person. In fact, a group can be just as effective, if not more. Whether it's a small group of friends, a mentorship circle, or even an online community, the power of a supportive network can be incredible. Groups create momentum. You feed off each other's energy, share strategies, and celebrate each other's progress. Plus, when you see others succeeding, it can push you to step up your game. It's like a community of people who are all working towards similar goals, and that collective energy makes everyone stronger.
Absolutely. And in today's world, there are so many ways to find accountability, whether it's through social media, forums, or professional groups. There are even apps designed to help you stay accountable by tracking your progress and sending reminders. The key is to find what works best for you. For some, it might be a close friend who you check in with weekly. For others, it might be an online group where you can post updates, share tips, and get feedback. The important thing is that accountability works because it creates a sense of responsibility, not just to yourself, but to the people you're connected with.
Exactly. Now, I know there's a fear of letting people down when you make a commitment to them. But here's the thing. Accountability doesn't just work in one direction. It's also about being there for someone else. When you offer accountability to others, you create a sense of mutual responsibility. It's a partnership. If your accountability partner is struggling, your role is to support them, just as they support you. This mutual encouragement not only helps you stay on track, but it also strengthens your relationships and deepens your sense of purpose.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, accountability doesn't have to be rigid. You don't have to check in every single day or hour. The point is to set up regular touch points where you can reflect on your progress, get feedback, and make adjustments as needed. These check-ins keep you engaged, and more importantly, they make sure you're not falling into the trap of thinking that you can do everything on your own. Accountability brings clarity and it keeps you focused, especially when life gets busy and other things start to pull at your attention.
That's a great point, Sophia. And one last thing I want to mention is that accountability can also be a great tool for overcoming perfectionism. A lot of us get caught up in wanting to do everything perfectly, and if we don't, we give up. But with accountability, you can embrace the idea that progress is better than perfection. The goal is to keep moving forward, even if it's in small steps. Your accountability partner or group can remind you of that, helping you stay consistent, even if things aren't going as smoothly as you'd like. And in turn, you'll realize that those small steps add up over time.
Exactly. And when you allow yourself to let go of perfectionism, accountability shifts from being something that pressures you into something that motivates you. It becomes a tool for progress, not perfection. It's about the small wins, the daily steps, and the understanding that you're in this together with the people around you. So, whether it's a mentor, a friend, or a community, accountability is a powerful force that can turn your goals into reality.
Right. And to sum it up, accountability is a game changer when it comes to achieving your goals. It's about creating a support system, staying responsible to others, and maintaining momentum even when the motivation starts to fade. Find the people or groups that will push you to be your best, and don't be afraid to offer that same support in return. Remember, no one achieves success in isolation. As we start wrapping up, Sophia, I think it's important for us to remind everyone that success isn't instant. It's easy to look at someone who's achieved great things and think it happened overnight, but the reality is, it's often the result of years of hard work, setbacks, and lessons learned. The key to real success isn't about chasing quick fixes or expecting immediate results. It's about having the patience to stick with it, even when the progress feels slow.
Exactly, Adam. So many people get discouraged when they don't see immediate results. And that's where the danger of new year, new me mentality comes in. We place all our hopes in one burst of motivation, and when it fades, we think we've failed. But real success is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires consistent effort, resilience, and a willingness to learn from each setback. It's about committing to the journey and understanding that each small step adds up to something significant over time.
Right. And we've all heard the phrase, Rome wasn't built in a day. Well, success is like that. You're building something long-term, and that takes time. Even the most successful people have had their fair share of struggles and challenges. The difference is that they stayed committed to their vision, even when it felt like things weren't moving forward as quickly as they'd hoped. Success isn't about instant gratification. It's about having the patience to persevere and trust the process.
That's so true. And I think it's important to realize that delayed gratification is often what sets successful people apart. It's the ability to put in the work now with the belief that it will pay off in the future. So much of life, and success in particular, comes down to delaying short-term pleasures for long-term gains. We're all wired to want results quickly, but that instant reward often comes at the cost of sustainable growth. True success is about playing the long game and staying focused on what matters most.
Exactly. And patience doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean you're sitting back, hoping things will work out on their own. No, it's about being actively patient, making small, consistent efforts every day, even when it feels like nothing is happening. You're still building momentum, and as time passes, you start to see the results of your persistence. Those results might not be as quick as you hoped, but when they do come, they will be so much more meaningful because they were earned the right way.
And this is where that mindset shift we talked about earlier comes into play. If you see success as something that happens overnight, You're more likely to burn out when you hit your first roadblock. But if you shift your perspective to see success as something that takes time, as a process rather than a destination, you'll find that every challenge along the way becomes a lesson, not a setback. That's the mindset that allows you to keep going, even when things aren't perfect.
Absolutely. And I think we've all heard the stories of successful people who started with nothing or faced countless failures along the way. The key is, they didn't give up when things didn't go as planned. They were willing to put in the hard work, be patient, and trust that their efforts would eventually pay off. Real success isn't about getting everything right on the first try. It's about learning from your mistakes, adapting along the way, and never giving up on your vision.
Exactly, Adam. And that's the ultimate takeaway from all of this. Real success takes time. And it's the patience and perseverance through those challenging times that will ultimately lead to the greatest rewards. So don't get discouraged when things aren't moving as fast as you want. Keep focusing on those small wins, stay committed to your goals, and trust that with time and consistency, you'll reach the place you've always dreamed of.
Right. And to anyone listening out there, if you're feeling discouraged or like you're not making the progress you'd hoped for, remember that this is a journey. It's okay to take small steps. It's okay to feel uncertain at times. The most important thing is that you keep moving forward. Trust the process, stay patient, and know that you're getting closer to your goals, even if it doesn't always feel like it. Success is built on persistence, and with patience, you'll get there.
Yes, Adam. And just to leave everyone with one final thought, success isn't a race, it's a journey. It's about embracing the process, learning as you go, and having the courage to keep going, even when things get tough. So, whatever goals you're working on for 2025, remember that success takes time, but with patience, perseverance, and a positive mindset, you'll get there.
Well said, Sophia. Thanks to everyone for tuning in today. We hope this conversation has helped you reframe how you think about success in the new year and beyond. Take it one day at a time, stay focused, and remember, real success takes time. Thank you.